That's a good mic check. For pow. Feels good when it looks, but I really feel like my lead arm stays in as I work down like that. Good? Cool. Gross audio. Face at P1, then they go straight to the top with no detail, no sound, no sound.
Just gonna hold it because it's fine when I hold it like this.
Is it on okay there? You want to get like a chair or something?
You worry about your people.
Okay. So can I talk about transition from P1 to the top of the back? So a lot of people talk about squaring the face at P1, and then they just go straight to the top with no detail. Yeah, so there's multiple ways to do it. When we talk squaring the club face, let's talk wrist conditions. Let's talk lead wrist. So assuming you have a neutral grip, like let's say V's at your trail collarbone, there's going to be some amount of extension or cup in your left wrist. Most players, the left wrist is still slightly cupped. The club face is tilted down. Here'd be straight up and down. Here's 90. Here's 45. It's probably less than that. Most players, let's say about 30 degrees tilted down, about even with their spine line. Now from this spot, the left wrist is still slightly cupped, a little angle there. By the time the left wrist or left arm gets parallel to the ground, the left wrist would be pretty darn flat. And then from there, it's also flat at the top. It's like a neutral model. Now, certainly not everyone does that. Some players curl it under more early and then just maintain. Some people are more cupped, curl later, or Webb Simpson, who just has, goodness gracious, not the best on paper backswing, and is like the 5th ranked player in the world. So yeah, I would say in the stock model, Terry, I'm hoping that's what you're looking for there, is left wrist is slightly cupped, face is tilted down, left wrist gets flat, face is square, and then up to the top, the left wrist is flat, face is square, depending upon your grip. If you got a stronger grip like me, your left wrist might be slightly cupped at the top and the face is square. If you've got a weaker grip, like this, then you need to be bowed at the top for the face to be square. Square would be like leading edge in line with my forearm, right? So it depends on your grip pattern, but that's basically what happens from the takeaway to the top. The trail wrist is bending back gradually the whole time. The left wrist is going from slight extension at setup, gradually towards flat all the way to the top. And then ideally in transition, the left wrist is going even more flat or bowed, and the right wrist is bending back more. Like if you measure the players, that would be a typical pattern. Eric, how to hit a high shot? When I play the ball slightly forward, I hit it higher, but I pull the ball. Yes, so the more forward you play in your stance, the more left your path will be. You could, Eric, play the ball forward, aim a little to the right and play a high pull. You could, instead of playing the ball forward, keep the ball position or even move it a little back, point the club face to the right more. So if you want to hit the ball the highest, you could move the ball forward. That'd be an option. And then if you pull it, you could feel like you swing more to the right or aim right and play the pull. You could not shift the ball forward, keep it more neutral, point the face a little more to the right, and play sort of more of a high draw pattern. So those would be the things that I would work through to start, would be options of that. How I hit the ball higher than normal, keeping in mind like how often on the golf course am I consciously trying to hit the ball higher than normal? Very rarely. Like I think you should play one stock ball flight pattern like 98% of the time, unless you have to go over a tree, under a tree. Even if you got like a tuck pin over bunker, like middle of the green. So trying to hit it high, I don't know so much. But if I needed to, I would have the ball slightly more forward, have a little more tilt, so a little bit more right side bend and address head back. I'd feel like through impact, I'm hitting very little down on it, so the club head's more or less sweeping the ball off the turf, very little divot. I feel like my head's back, the club head's sweeping the ball off, and I'm pulling my hands up and up towards the sky. So I'm really shallowing out my angle of attack, keeping my head back. To hit the ball high, you're looking at dynamic loft and angle of attack. To hit the ball the highest, you would hit the least down on the ball, the most level, but you still want low dynamic loft because you want to hit it far. So you want to keep the loft low, but hit very shallow with the angle of attack. Versus if I want to hit a low ball, I'd have low loft and hit down the most, right? Let's see. Also, can you go over your stupid cut again? Yeah. So the stupid cut shot, which I built in last year as my like go-to tee shot, I don't really do as much now. I worked with JT, one of our coaches at CogornoGolf.com. Just a smooth little plug there by me. We talked about our driver pattern, and I worked on my stock driver pattern. Was gaining a lot of distance, hitting the ball a lot farther. So I've been playing with that more. But my stupid cut tee shot as like a go-to driver for me is a couple things. Let's say I'm hitting down the fairway. Let's say I'm playing a fairway. I point my club face between the center and the left edge. So I point my club face between the center of the fairway and the left edge. I cut it in half. So I take a fairway, I cut it in half. Now I'm looking at the left half of the fairway. I cut that in half again, and that's where I aim my club face. I aim my feet on the left rough line. So my feet are on the edge of the fairway. My club face is between the left edge and the center. What I feel like my club face points there. My feet are open. During my downswing, I feel like I swing the club along my toe line, more left pass impact, more low pass impact, and I feel like I consciously hold the club face more open, so it's more tilted up toward the sky. And when I feel those things, that produces a path that's a little left, with the face is a little open with good cuts. Now, my issue when I started doing that is I'd hit push cuts. So what I practiced, right, to be able to do this, is I put a start line stick down the middle of the range, like this. And so when I took my setup position, I had the club face aimed over here. I had to start the ball left of this. This is right down the middle of the fairway. Start the ball left of it and curve them back to the right. And as part of our range routine, like on our site, like our practice routines, the rules would be to finish your practice, you have to hit 10 in a row in the grid. We just did a grids video today that'll go up, and how to practice stuff. That'll go up soon. That'll explain this more. So if you could imagine, Eric, this is definitely not rapid fire answer, but I would aim the club face down the left center, feet down the left edge. I've got a stick down the left center that I got to start at left of. I feel like I swung low left. I felt like my head and upper body stayed more back as I did it. So when I hit my cut, I always feel like I'm more back this way. That would produce my cut. Hit it a little shorter, but it's my go-to shot. Okay, rapid fire.
Slower.
Ernest, that was really not a rapid answer. Can you share drills on how to zero out your swing plane? Yeah, Ernest, I'd say the best thing to zero out your swing plane would be a cardboard box or a like shoe box or a club box that would come in something like this, where you put it right outside the ball. Now this is a little small. This is probably only like maybe 1.5 feet. I would get like a full golf club box, something that's like 3 to 4 feet, and I'd have it just outside the golf ball. Because if it's the whole length, right? If it's the entire length of, let's say it's like 4 feet long, and you put it outside the ball like that, if you swing too far from inside, we should really probably, this is on my list of YouTube videos to do, so we'll do this at some point, but it's just such a good neutralizer. We didn't do this yet, Merritt, right? No. So if I put it, let's say 1 inch outside the ball, I used to do this a lot when I was younger, taking lessons. So it should really go back another foot, forward another foot. But if I come too far from inside, I'm going to hit the box past the ball. If I come too far over the top, I'm going to hit the box before the ball. If I wanted like a zeroed out swing plane, that's what I would do, is I'd put an object outside the ball, and that will work great. So like you don't need anything fancier than that. If you try that and don't hit it good, that's a you problem. Like if I tried that the first couple of times and hit it terrible, and I was like, oh, this drill doesn't work. Like, no, the drill's great. I wasn't executing properly, right? You probably need to record yourself still. But man, as a swing plane neutralizer, box outside the ball, longer one will be good. Mary just deleting messages. Or someone else deleted messages.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay. Lewis, I don't know if you said anything there. It says there's some messages deleted, either Mary's.
It says hidden.
Okay. Maybe it was a sound thing. Tips on bringing your best game to the course, especially competitive rounds. Yeah, a couple things. Number one is to play well on the golf course, you have to play on the golf course. So if you hit balls 3 days a week and play once a week and you hit it better on the range, like, yeah, you do that 3 days a week, you do something else once a week, you're better at something you do 3 days a week. So the first thing would be monitoring total time spent. I would play on the course as much as practice time. That'd be step one. Step two would be every single time you practice, you should hit every skill area. You should putt first. Every time when you go to practice, putt first, not last, putt first, chip second, hit balls third. Putt first, chip second, hit balls third. And it should be 25%, 25%, 50%. So if you go to practice for 1 hour, you should putt for 15 minutes, chip for 15 minutes, hit balls for 30 minutes. No matter if you're the best putter in the world and the worst chipper, or the best chipper, worst hit ball, doesn't matter. Do 25% putt, 25% chip, hit balls. When you hit balls, you have to do the wedge warm-up, distance control. You have to do mechanics for set number. You have to do grids. And so grids are going to be the biggest way how you start to find your feels that transfer to the course. But to take it to tournament competitive, you have to play on the course enough, and you need enough reps in that environment. So you can't go like practice round tournament, and that's your first tournament, and you never play in those conditions and expect to play well. You got to play like warm-up tournaments. Like, I'm a big Duke basketball fan. They play like, Tennessee Tech. I don't know if that's a school. They play like, whatever. You got some warm-up scrimmages to like win by 50 points. So that when you start to go play your first couple real ones, you're already like in the zone of playing. So what I would do if you have a couple big tournaments you're highlighting through the year, plan some competitive stuff leading up to it where you don't, it doesn't matter what you do, just get the reps in like that. That would be my answer to that. So practice effectively. Short answer. Practice effectively, spend enough time on the course, and spend enough time in the competitive environment before that. Could you talk about when the hips, you having fun over there?
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Do you want to like find, no, you're good.
We have a good audience.
Could you talk about when the hips start moving forward in the backswing and what feel you want when to start moving the hips forward? So Dylan, technically speaking, like with the float load, best drill, one drill to fix your entire swing, whatever we did, around when my arms are getting back to left arm parallel. So we could call that, depending on who you're talking to, that could be halfway back during your backswing, that could be 3/4 of the way back. Roughly when the arms are getting back to left arm parallel, let's say the center of the pelvis, the tailbone is starting to move towards the target. So roughly left arm parallel. So I don't shift, like I'm not shifting to the right all the way, shifting to left all the way. Really, it's about roughly, not everyone's the same, but let's say left arm parallel. My hips are starting to kind of turn and move forward. Pressure's starting to turn and move forward. That's the literal. Now, some people, when you feel you get the left arm parallel and go, like your swing length could be too short. Some people need to, or you don't, if you don't turn enough, you can't start thinking about starting your downswing sooner. If you don't turn enough and complete your backswing, you shouldn't be thinking about starting downswing sooner. I see equally as many people never finish their backswing. So like you can't start down sooner. You got to make a full backswing first and then learn how to start down. How I would learn that would be the float load drill. So you go back first here. You watch the video for this, but right arm is very long, wrist is very long, clubs parallel. Pull your arms and hands up and back as your lower body's floating down and forward. Arms go up and back, body floats down and forward. And that should have a reaction to the hinge amount. So like creating lag right here. Pull your hands up and back as your lower body goes down and forward. So your hands go up and back, your lower body goes down. That's going to take a little coordination, right, to be able to do that. That's how you could train that in. Or just in terms of general hip rotation, like there's no better hip rotation drill than the best hip rotation drill I've ever seen, which is to stick through the belt loops, right? It's just some of these things work so good, you don't have to like make it any fancier. Stick through the belt loops like this with a stick on the ground, 45 degrees to the left, make your backswing, and as so long as you get this stick over the 45 stick, by the time the club gets impact, like you're fine, right? So from here, there'd be a stick on the ground. I'm getting this over that stick by the time my hands get to impact. That wasn't a video that we just did just this past couple of days, maybe last week. I think it was called, how to activate your hips in the downswing. is where that video is. Or the one drill that'll fix your entire swing. Both those will talk about those. If you have your magnetic device, that might be a problem. If you have your magnetic device in your club face position, can you use it to show the chipping stroke I keep shanking? So I don't have it. What I would say for your chipping stroke, and if you search my name in wedges, like how to be an elite wedge player club face, there's a video on this topic specifically. So it all depends, right? There's different ways to do this. I think as a very stock model, like your club face, by the time you set up, let's say it's square, by the time I get to about parallel to the ground, I would typically like to see it toe up. Now, that means on its way there, you can see this best, on its way there, it's gradually opening. So if I stop me, because people always send me videos of like someone chipping and they're like halfway back. They're like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. That club face is still tilted down. Yeah, because he's here, or she, and it's in the process of still getting there. Like, if I only make a chip shot that goes back 2 feet, my club face shouldn't be toe up by that point. If I'm only 2 feet back, it should still be tilted down some amount. It's gradually working to toe up. It's gradually working to toe up by the time it gets to parallel to the ground. So it's still tilted down some amount on that way. Now, that might have everything or literally nothing to do with why you shank it. So I'd have to see a video of your chip. There's a lot of reasons why you could shank it. It's hard for me to like just say, hey, this one thing will fix your shank. If I had to, I would do the same drill. Put the box outside the ball so you don't hit it with your club, and I would do shots and make sure you're not going too far inside and out to the right. I'd say that's likely one of the reasons. There could be some issues with pressure in your feet, but I would watch the chipping videos, put this outside, make sure your club plane is neutral. Even I'd rather you feel it maybe a little up and out and a little bit kind of across it just to get a sense. But you learning how to hit chip shots with the object outside the ball is probably where I would start with the shank shots. Jim, on the right hip on the downswing, as it rotates to the target, how close does it get to the ball line? So like the thought process there, if you search, we did some hip videos with Mike Malaska. One was hip depth, and it's like how to get and maintain hip depth, and the other one was how the hips work in the downswing gym. If you watch those, we did some good visuals in there. The general idea, if you look at how your hips start here, during my backswing, I want to create some depth with my trail hip, right, or the right side of my pelvis. And as I start down, I don't want that to start moving in towards the ball. The sensation is I create depth, it moves back, it stays back, and then it turns through. That's basically the idea here. So if we imagine there's like a wall right here, right? If there was like a wall here, I'm getting my right hip turned behind that, keeping the depth, and then I'm getting closer as it turns. So as my right hip turns and goes back in depth, it gets farther. And then as I rotate on the way through, it'll get a little closer. But it's create depth, keep depth, turn through. So get farther, turn through. That's kind of be like the sequence of, that'd probably be a good video too. Hip depth, like get farther, fine. How is that net you are using? I am in the market for a new one. We really like it. It's Mary's. I think it's a Skills, S-K-L-Z Quick Stir. Mary sets it up in like literally 3 minutes. I don't hit real balls into it. I only just hit those foam ones when we're doing these, but she hits balls at home into it and she loves it. So she likes it a lot. Felipe, what's up, man? Is there a simple answer for ball distance? How far from the ball should I be at setup? You know what? We did a video, Felipe, on, if you search my name on YouTube, and I think it's called How Far Should I Stand from the Ball? Yeah, I did a literal video where like measured it, like literally a, what do you call it? Like a measuring tape? Is that what it's called? Tape measure? Hello. Where I measured the distance away from the ball, and then I give checkpoints how to set up. So Felipe, if you watch that, it's like a 10 to 12 minute video. We'll explain that perfectly. You'll love that. Tyler, best drill to not hitting the ball fat. That's part of the problem with like having so many of those good videos that are topic specific, and then they get lost because they're like a year ago. We have to kind of like find a way to do that. Anyway, Tyler, best drill to not hit the ball fat or ground first. Seems like every time I work on it, I hit the ball thin after. Yeah, it could be super likely if you have an issue and then overdo the opposite, you'd go from fat to thin. Might not be the worst thing in the world. Tyler, it really depends on why you're hitting it fat. So there's some things I could give you that would help, but I really would have to see why you're hitting it fat. And because someone could hit it fat because they shift too far to the right and stay back. Someone could hit it fat because they shift too far forward and are too far forward. Like literally the exact opposite issues could cause a fat shot. So, the simple things to start with would be putting an object, I'm assuming you've done this already, but putting an object behind the ball that you have to swing over, like you put a towel or a head cover or an object behind the ball. If you search my name in fat shots, Tyler, you'll see some of this. And then in terms of low point and in front, practicing with the line drawn on the ground, Tyler, I would search my name in fat shots, search my name and how to hit the ball first, ground second. And then that'll kind of show you the starting points of where I would take your setup, 60-40 left, feeling your lead shoulder, lead hip working down and forward more to start your downswing to confirm that your body's in the right space. And then the arm feels for that. So if you search my name in ball first, ground second, and fat shots, that'd be where I start without seeing what you're doing. Michael, best drill for swinging too much from the inside, hitting blocks and hooks. So there's a couple practice stations that you can do that are good. And honestly, you could start with the cardboard box. Like anytime you have a path issue, a cardboard box about an inch outside the ball is such a good starting point. Because if you swing too far to the, now again, this needs to be longer, but if you swing too far to the right, you're going to hit the box, right? So literally just to miss the box outside the ball like this would be a good path stroke, because you're going to need to feel like it works a lot more left around you. That'd be one. And if you search my name and fix your hook, you'll see these drills in that video. You could do the bucket between you and the golf ball. I explained how to set this up in that video, that how to fix your hook. So you'd have this between here and there. You got to keep the club head on the outside of this just to get a sense of the club path. You could also do this, put a stick in. You got to move it back a little more. Put a stick in, and you have to keep the club on top of that plane line, both going back and coming through. And again, you're starting short and slow and building your way up here. Or you can do the drills where the stick's in front of you and you have to swing to the left of it. So this would be like the 45-degree drill to fix your pushes and hook. And you would go like this. You'd be about here. And if you swing too far to the right, like this, you'd hit it. So you got to feel it working more kind of low left around you, like the club face is pointed up towards the sky. Your arms feel like they're more around you in the follow through. So more around you, your right arm across your chest, left arm pulls back this way. Club face is more tilted up towards the sky, kind of like the leading edge in line with your spine line for the hook. So arms across, arms finishing lower, more underneath your shoulder. Those would all be good practice stations. You just got to find which one works best. Definitely record it. How do I get my drive next? How do I get my drive to not drop straight down at the apex? I lose so much distance. That sounds like a spin rate issue. So I would go get a club. So like if you hit a ball flight and it goes up and then just poof right back down, that's too much spin. So I would go get a club fitting from someone in person who's a really good fitter and have them check your numbers and look at this. I mean, they know what to do. I don't need to say it, but they'll look at your spin, your dynamic loft, your launch angle, stuff like that. That sounds like a spin issue. That could be you, technique problem. That could be driver, club problem. That could be shaft problem. I would get a club fitting first and work from there. Mike, can you talk about right and left elbow pits at address and where they should be? Yeah, I think in safe terms, it depends on several factors. Grip depends on part of how your arms hang. But in simple terms, getting your arms closer together and having the pits of your elbows, I forget what those are, and someone sent me last time too what they are, but it doesn't matter what they're called. These inner parts of your elbows pointed more away from you, right? And then your arms would turn in to take your grip. So it would be as though, let's say my arms are tighter together. So the more I externally rotate my shoulders this way, external rotation of my shoulders would keep my elbows closer together. If I internally rotate my shoulders, right, have flying right elbow, my elbows would be farther apart. So you'd have your arms, shoulders externally rotated, hello, and the armpits would be away from you. Now, obviously, you don't grip a club like this. So what you do is you turn your forearm, palm down, which would be pronation, to take your grip, and then your trail arm is already kind of preset in that strong position. So your elbow pits more away from you, elbows a little bit closer, and then you're pronating your lead arm. So like your thumb, if you want to take your grip, and your thumbs were straight up towards the sky, let's say this is 12 o'clock. Here's my thumbs out towards 12. You would turn your thumbs towards, let's say 1:32 o'clock. So elbow pits out, arms externally rotated, and then that'd be a normal grip. Now, some players I've seen will keep their elbows closer like that, have their lead shoulder more internally rotated, so elbow more at the target, and with a stronger grip, typically the whole arm turned, and be a little bit more this way, and have a little bit more of a drive hold release style, like a Kelvin Mejia, but the elbow pits are still close, so the right arm's still externally rotated. If the right arm gets internally rotated and you have this, that serves really no purpose. So I say there's some margin of error with the left arm, what you want to do, but elbow pits away from you would be like the simple version. Like when Steve and I did that video, you know, that's designed for, as a general rule, and then certainly there's going to be differences per person. Steven, if you only had time for one drill prior to a round, what would it be? I wouldn't do a drill. If I only have time to hit balls, I'm going to flip this on you, because I wouldn't do a drill, and what the drill would be could be so different for every person. What I would do before a round is putt on the putting green for speed control, so long putts for speed control, and hit a bunch of 3-footers just to get confidence of the ball going in. Chipping before a round is next to irrelevant for me, pre-round. And then the next most important thing I'd want to see is I'd do grids on the range to see what I need to feel to get the ball in the grids, so I can plot my way in terms of zones around the course. We just did video today on grids. That'll come out soon. We're doing some more how to practice stuff and how to actually change your golf swing and how to effectively improve yourself as you're working on it. So that'll come out. I would do grids. If I could hit 20 balls, I would do, let's say I could hit 40 balls. I'd do 20 balls wedge warm up, 2 to 30, 2 to 40, 2 to 50, 2 to 60, 2 to 70, 2 to 80, 90, all the way to 120, distance control. I'd hit probably 15 balls of my iron grid, then I'd hit 5 drivers, and then I'd go play. I wouldn't do a drill. I want to see what feels I need to get the ball in the pattern I want that day. It's a good question. From top of my legs, from the top, my legs / hips fire fast, and I feel my upper body lags behind, I believe causing my very open club face. How do I get better upper body sequencing drilled in my muscle memory? So you could do a couple of things. I very, 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 very rarely see someone who has too much hip rotation. So I don't know that I would rein that in. You might need to feel like your upper body opens up more along with it. You know, a simple sequencing drill, if you're in that family, would be to put the alignment rod through your belt loops. So in terms of the sequencing, you would put your alignment rod. Now this is, I would not suggest this for everyone. This is specifically for someone who thinks their shoulders are way close compared to their lower body, okay? Huge caveat. You would put the alignment rod where the majority of it hangs out of your right side if you're righty. And when you come down, if you get too far out in front of it, your club's gonna hit that. So you wanna feel like you go up to the top, your trail hips turn back, keep your trail hip back. This is the wall. Keep your trail hip back. You're gonna feel like your arms and hands are getting down earlier and your chest, upper body, shoulders are turning through more. So for you, it'll feel like up to the top, hip stays back, arms are working down, chest is opening. Hip stays back, arms are working down, chest is opening to get the sequencing. Again, not for everyone, but that would be that. Or if maybe you're not sequencing issue and your face is open, then you either need to strengthen your grip or add some wrist conditions. Flex your lead wrist more, bend back your trail wrist, or strengthen your grip, or add arm rotation. Everyone's afraid of arm rotation, but it could fix a lot of us. Eric, you're welcome, buddy. Thomas, best drill for a cross line at the top on the backswing. The best drill for that would be a plane station. And Thomas, if you search my name in backswing plane, you'll see this in more detail. The best way to fix this would be put a stick on the ground, even with your golf ball. Put a stick on the side of the club. And at the top, if you're across the line, your stick or butt of the club would point back here in this zone. And you need to get the stick to point over here, anywhere on this side of the golf ball. So you go up to the top, stick over there. You're probably going to feel your left elbow point more away from you. You're going to feel the butt of the club away from you. You're going to feel the logo on your glove up towards the sky. You're going to feel your right palm up towards the sky. You're going to feel your thumbs kind of up and back. Any of those things. It should feel to you like it's like horizontal. You might also not tilt your shoulders as much, but you would feel more of these things here. And then you'd take this out. Of course, you would record yourself from down the line. and you would try and feel the same thing and go incredibly slow, about this pace, and hit a shot. And then you'd look back at the camera and notice, holy crap, that was still across the line, even though I felt it was way laid off. And then you'd go back in, you'd exaggerate 10 times more, record it until it looked how you want, and that would be where you need to start with. So heavy, 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 heavy video feedback, that would be the drill, and then you need to transfer your feels. If you're way across the line, you might be doing that for 6 months, you know, slowly but surely changing that at the top till it feels normal. That's not feeling normal after like a week or two. Okay. Hello from Bethlehem, PA, Germany. Awesome. Love your videos with Milo. Thank you. And Alaska. Yeah, they're awesome. Love the baseball swing techniques. Yeah, those guys are great. We were just talking about figuring out somehow to get back out with them at some point in time. They are awesome. Jeff, best drill to get right elbow going internal from top. Mine goes external and hands move closer to the ball than elbow and shaft is too steep. Best drill to get right elbow going internal at the top. So you want to get it more flying right elbow? Is that what you mean? So more internal would be more flying right elbow, more external would be more elbow down. Mine goes external and the hands move closer to the ball than elbow, shaft. I think maybe you're flipping those terms. If you went internal, this would look like this. External would look like this. To start your downswing, internal would be elbow stays back, shaft steep. External would be elbow in front, shaft shallow. So if you're elbow back, shaft steep internal, which I think that's what you mean to say, you would want to feel like your right elbow squeezing closer to your left. You want to feel your humerus pointing straight down towards the ground. You want to feel your right elbow pointing down towards the ground. You could put a smart ball or bucket between your arms and squeeze that in transition. You should feel some tightness in your trail shoulder. I don't know if this will work with my mic, but you would put this in between your arms and feel a sensation that you're squeezing the right arm closer to the left, squeezing the right arm. You're squeezing the bucket so it gets wider in transition, if that's what you're talking about. That could also be something as simple as you put a glove underneath your trail armpit and keep it in, and that could go external, smart ball, things like that. Hopefully that's what you meant. I don't know why you would want the opposite, but maybe. How to keep the club face closed and not open at impact. Stronger grip, more bowed lead wrist or trail, extended trail wrist, or more lead arm supination, trail arm pronation. So you could, to get the club face closed, you got those three options. You could throw it more as option 4, but let's just say you don't want to do that. Stronger grip, left wrist more bowed, right wrist more bent back, or more arm rotation. What I would do is start with the grip. Make sure your grip's strong enough. Would be part 1. Make sure your grip's strong enough, part 1. Hip balls, if that doesn't do it, so V's to the right collarbone, trail collarbone. If that doesn't do it, then I would go left wrist more bowed, right wrist more bent back, club face pointed down, club face pointed towards the camera, club face pointed towards the sky. Or if you had like a T in your glove, this is one that seems to work really good for our members on CogornoGolf.com as a simple drill. They seem to get this more than the hanger, it seems, which I think it'd be the opposite. But if you put a T in your glove like this, it's like your Strixon logo, and then you want to point the T towards the ground, point the T towards the camera. It'll really go towards the sky, but it'll feel like it's towards the camera. So the club face will be like shut there. So you go stronger grip, T down, T camera, strong grip, T. And then if that doesn't close it, then I'd add arm rotation. I do it in that order. Grip first, wrist condition second, arm rotation third. So if you got an open club face and you actually strengthen your grip, not feel strong, but not sure, like record it, actually strengthen it, actually get your wrist conditions and actually add some arm rotation. I mean, the ball should boomerang to the left, and then you can just scale back. Take out the arm rotation first, take out the wrist conditions second if needed, and then neutralize grip third. Troy, why am I a hero on the range but a 0 when it comes to playing on the course? Is it all mental? It's definitely not all mental. There could be a couple possible reasons. Number one, you practice on the range much more than you play. So if you practice 3 days a week and play once a week, you're obviously going to be better at something you do 3 times a week than once a week. A lot of people miss that basic concept, me included, for a long period of time. Like, if you want to be better on the course, you have to go on the course more, right? Period. So like, Maybe 2 days and 2 days, maybe 3 days in the course, 1 on the range. That's number one. Number two is how you practice. The more time you spend practicing your swing mechanics, the less that's going to transfer to the golf course. If you hit one club to the same target with 0 time in between, with no routines, with no consequence, that literally has nothing to do with the golf course. The solution is how you practice. Now, we think we have a really good routine for this, which I've said a million times, I'm going to continue to say a million times. When you go to the range, you should do 20 balls, wedges warm up, 2 balls to 30. You should all write this down. 2 balls to 30 yards, 2 balls to 40 yards, 2 balls to 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. 2 balls to each distance. That's your distance control system and a warm-up. The compound of that over time is unbelievable. That's 20 balls. Then you should do 20 balls with swing mechanics only. That means you're not concerned with what the golf ball is doing. You're only concerned with, am I doing the motion correct? You have feedback via video and or practice station. You do 1 to 2 rehearsals in between every single rep, and you only do 20 balls. Then you do 20 ball iron grid. You pick a flag and a zone either to the right or to the left of it, about 10 yards. You start with your sand wedge. You do a full routine. The ball must land in the grid. Then you move to gap wedge. You do the full routine. Ball must land in the grid. You do it with your irons. Then you do a driver grid with the same thing, trying to get 10 in a row or X in a row within a grid. If you do that, you'd be a hero on the golf course and on the range, but you have to spend time on the golf course. Nothing to do with mental. Nothing to do with mental. It has everything to do with preparation. You practice a speech in a mirror at home 100 times and then go on stage in front of 10,000 people. Those 100 times are irrelevant. It's now how many times do you give the speech in front of 10,000 people? That's where you actually get good at it. So you have to practice differently and spend time on the golf course. Eric, any good drills to fix the club head from being laid off in the backswing? Kevin, yeah, just reverse the drill I just did. Search my name, Kevin, and backswing plane. So Kevin, search my name in backswing plane. You'll see this. So you want the exact opposite feels of the person before. Put the stick on the side of the club. Get the stick to point behind you. That'll get it across the line. So the butt of the club and stick will point behind you. Should feel really goofy. Left arm more down towards the ground. Butt of the club more back behind you like this. And then you record yourself. And again, exaggerate accordingly. My name in backswing plane. That drill will work. You got to work it. You need to record yourself. You need to exaggerate accordingly. It might take several practice sessions. Don't quit on it on day 2 because you hit a couple fat, right? You do the drills. Keep doing the drills. Let's see. My shots tend to be a pull, hook, or push. When I video my swing, I notice my right knee go in as well as right heel lift up. Any drills to feel like my body rotates through? Yeah, so search my name and footwork. There's a couple drills you can do. One would be to put a club underneath your trail heel. So search my name and footwork. The thumbnail, I believe the thumbnail is this drill. So you'll see a club underneath my heel. So part 1 would be during your downswing. You're going to feel like the club stays underneath your heel for longer. You're going to feel like your hip stays back for longer as you work through. So up here, club stays underneath and it doesn't fall out till after. The second drill you would do would be to put the alignment rod through the bucket and have it in front of your trail shin. So when you come down, you don't kick up into it. You keep the right knee working in towards the target. So if you search my name and footwork, you'll find those drills will be the starting ones. You could also, I mean, if that's the issue you want to fix, that's that. The how to activate your hip rotation, stick through your belt loops would be like the best rotation drill. But that would be, those would be where to start. Drill for, yeah, I would say the broader your chest and shoulders are, the less deep you're likely going to get your arms and hands. So you would feel your arms and hands working a little bit more vertical or out in front of you. The caveat is you can't have a vertical shaft with that. You'll need to have the shaft a little bit more laid down. That way from there you can still have good downswing alignments. If you get it out in front and the shaft is vertical, you really have to do a lot to shallow it. Stand back out of it, kick your hips forward. So arms more out in front of you if you're bigger, and shaft a little bit more laid down. So you have it laid off and out in front of you, and then you can rock and roll from there. Let's see. Just recently moved the ball back in my stance towards the back foot, and I'm hitting the irons better than ever. Is this a Band-Aid? I don't know. It could be. Keep doing it for a month and then go from there. I don't know. I'd have to see. Might be a Band-Aid, might not be. Ball position might have been too far forward. Maybe you swing too far from the inside and that helps. Maybe you swing too far over the top and having the ball back actually helps make you inside. Felipe, when you release your club, how do you want your arms to look? Right on top of left or left on top of right? And how high/low do you want your arms exiting on your left side? You would typically want, this is just real stock answer, you would typically want your right arm underneath your left for some amount of time past impact. That will vary from player to player. Typically, you'll see the right arm below the left until about arms parallel to the ground, and then the right arm will be above the left. In terms of where the hands go, the club, when you release it, will get back over the toe line here, and then your right arm is going to work across your body into the left of your left shoulder. So you'd want to feel your right arm underneath your left till about here, and then your hand path is gradually working from about let's say shaft parallel during your downswing, it's in line with your right thigh. It's gradually working up and left from there the entire time into the follow through. Now, not every single golfer does that the same way. So it's not like 2 + 2 = 4, this is easy peasy. Some people do 5 - 1, some people do 3 + 1. There's different ways to get to this, but that would be a stock answer. If someone sliced the ball, I would never tell them to keep the right arm underneath the left. I'd get them to feel the right arm over the left as soon as humanly possible. Someone who hooks it would feel the right arm more underneath the left. So it's hard to just give a stock answer to that, but those would be the general answers, Felipe, in terms of how high, low your arms? Yeah, so let's say the club would get roughly over your heel line and then left of your shoulder. Club gets over your heel line, left of your shoulder. That would be like a good general checkpoint there. Do I need to set up a bit farther from the ball when using a drive, hold, release? Kelvin here mentioned you need more room to load the right elbow. I don't think you need to get farther at setup. I would think you need to create more space on the way down. So more forward bend, hips deeper, more right side bend to be able to have the trail arm, let's take a Dustin Johnson. So for you to get the trail arm external, so most, like if you look at players here when the club's parallel, the right arm being straight up and down would be neutral. We did a video called Passive Release that talked about this. If your arm's more external, the elbow will be more in front. This would be more like a DJ look, like this. If your arm's more internal, it'll be more back, like here. That'll be arm more right on your side. But it just depends on if you're drive holding, notice how that changes where my butt of the club is too. Space, I don't think you need to stand far with your body during the downswing. So if you look at DJ and look at those players, they have more forward bend to start down, which makes the pelvis and hips go back. On the downswing. No good? How long do you keep your left arm connected on the downswing? So your left arm, how long do you keep your left arm connected on the downswing? Let's say your left arm's connected to start. It's connected here. 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 It's really flying off roughly from halfway during your downswing through the follow through. So it's connected, 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 off, right? That would be kind of stock. I'd say for a stock model, club parallel during the downswing through the follow through. Some people may feel it earlier, feel it never come off. It all depends. Depends on how much body rotation you can or cannot get, etc. But that would be a stock answer. Got a drill on how to calm down the hips and upper body so I don't hit the driver with an open face. Yeah, it might not have anything to do with that. You might not need to calm down the hips or body at all. I would address the open face first, leave your body stuff alone if you have an open club face. And I would just go through the answer I said earlier. Grip first, wrist condition second, arm rotation third. Start with grip, then do the T drill, then do arm rotation until you're boomeranging the club left. Thomas, if you search my name and slice fix, like me with a driver, I talk through all that, how to do all that. Charles, is it bad that I use a left hand and arm for everything? Not at all. Perfectly fine to use left hand feels or right hand feels. Neither one are correct nor incorrect. All that matters is the actual motion it produces when you feel it. How to practice in net in winter with no launch monitor. I would do a set amount of reps. I would use video feedback, probably live view specifically, coupon code EC Golf for $40 off. And I would practice my mechanical pieces with a coach, not hit a million balls. I'd probably do 30 to 50, one rehearsal, one rep, one rehearsal, one rep, one rehearsal, one rep. So 30 balls with 60 swings, and frequency is the deal. Do it more often, not more golf balls per session. Solid contact, don't worry about ball flight. And then when you get outside or able to do the grids and things like that, then you can kind of shift to skill stuff. What's your best advice for trying to get your teenage son into golf, trying to make sure I have a long-term playing partner? I think ultimately they need to want to play. So I would introduce the game. I don't know whether they're just starting or have been playing. I would introduce the game to them where they had a lot of early success, a lot of early wins. I wouldn't start playing from the normal tee boxes. I would learn how to play, start 50 yards from the green, and let them learn how to make a par from 50 yards. When they can par from 50, move them back to 75, like an Operation 36. Par from 75 yards, then move them back to 100, and learn how to just get early success. Golf's hard for people in the beginning because it's so hard. And if it's so hard right away, it's tough. So early wins, early success, keep it fun. Not a lot of like teaching them how to, just only as much as they need. And then if they really show an interest for it, you can you work from there. Juan, how high should my hands be at the top of the backswing for stock 7-iron? Down the line, should they be above the ears? Yeah, I would say from face on, if this is 9 o'clock and this is 12 o'clock, getting your arm between, let's say, 10 to 11 is typical from there. And then typically from this side, you see the butt of the club just above the head. So if you drew like a line above your head and had good shoulder tilt, so if you don't tilt, you're going to be taller. Let's say you have normal tilt, getting the hands and arms, butt of the club just above the top of the head, and the lead arm at, let's say, 10 o'clock would be some stock things to shoot for. If you search my name in backswing length, we did some awesome drills with Ben Pelicani in terms of how to hit those checkpoints, how to lengthen or shorten the backswing. What should the head-eyes position during the backswing so it does not restrict the swing? So when you make your backswing here, you should have a little bit of turn and tilt, ideally. So when you make your backswing, the left ear would get a little bit closer to your left shoulder, so your face is more or less tilted a little bit. Some players who keep the face more straight down, without as much of that, you don't turn as much. If I wanted to get more turn and tilt, I'd have my left ear more down towards the ground this way. That makes it easier for me to make longer backswing. If I wanted less or shorten my backswing, I'd keep my face more straight down, and that would kind of restrict my turn and arm swing. So either one of those would depends on what you want to do. Face more down, add more neck tilt and rotation if you want longer swing length. You are welcome. Hans, hurt my lower left side of my back in the follow-through with the driver today at the range. Pulled a muscle or something. What angles and motion should I try to avoid my swing to not do it again? Yeah, I don't know, and I can't answer that one. Unfortunately, I would work with a doctor or physical therapist, see what you can, can't do, what motions, etc. I need to see those swings. Definitely not an expert in that area, so I would work with a physical therapist or a doctor on that one. Matthew, hit iron straight. If I miss with fairway wood, it's left. And my driver is way right. Is this common? And any ideas what may be going on? So hit your iron straight, miss the fair hybrid. Not necessarily common. I mean, part of what plays into that, obviously, is clubs. So, like, are those clubs fit for you or not? Right? Do they need to be tweaked club-wise? Do you just move the ball position too far forward as the clubs get longer? Another thing is angle of attack. So if it sounds like you might be a little bit too steep or over the top during the downswing, and when you hit down, you're over the top. You hit down with your irons, three-dimensionally. That makes your path more to the right, deep plane wise. So that evens out. Okay, you can be a little steep and hit straight. If you're hitting your woods and you're not hitting down as much, but you're still a little bit too steep, you would hit pulls and with the driver, face a little open fade. So I would say if I had to guess without seeing your swing, you likely would be too steep or over the top. So you would likely need to shift your swing direction more to the right, either swinging more from inside with the station behind you or swinging more to the right past the ball. Again, you got to check the fundamental pieces, like are your clubs fit properly? Is your ball position good? How is your aim, et cetera? So I would really need to see your swing, Matthew, to help. But I would say that as a general rule. And for all you guys, if you do want more help with this, CogornoGolf.com. That's where you can send me in your swings and get a practice plan put together. Jamie, my head lifts slightly in the backswing. Could this cause issues? Yes, it could. It doesn't automatically cause issues, but typically, like, it could cause contact issues, club face control issues, etc. If I could choose, I'd rather the head not lift up. I'd rather maintain height. So you would likely need to feel your lead shoulder work more down as you do your turning pieces. Usually when the head lifts up, the lead shoulder works too high, shoulder's too flat. You would need to feel lead shoulder more down. You're doing a left ab crunch. You search my name and shoulder tilt should help with that. Any drill to hit the ball higher? Yeah, there's a bunch. I would say mainly the main influence of hitting the ball high or low is where your body is in space. The more the head stays back as you push your hips forward, the higher the ball is going to go. The more your body moves forward this way, the lower, could be more compressed, but lower the ball is going to go. So I would keep my head more back as I push my hips forward. You could just move the ball position a little forward. But like we talked about a little earlier in the live for Eric, I think, with the high shots, I would feel the ball a little more forward, head more back, head stays back. I'm getting the club head really just picking the ball off the turf, not hitting down very much, just very shallow. And I'm feeling my hands are pulling up past impact. Hands are pulling up, legs are extending, belt buckle's working up. All of those things, more extension into the follow through can help. Certainly I wouldn't think about all that at one time, but find the one or two feels that that would work best. Where do you look at the ball? For me, I'm looking at the ball like I look at the road when I drive. I'm looking at the road, but I'm not focused on the road. So I'm kind of, it's in my vision, but I'm thinking about the target. When I drive home tonight, I'll be looking at the road, but I'll be thinking about something else. I'm not like staring at the road. That's for me. I've also played well where I tried to focus on one dimple and really zone out on a dimple and be really in the zone. I've played really well in tournaments with that thought. Some people look more at the front of the ball and they seem to help them with contact. I don't think there's like a perfect answer for everyone with this. Try zoning in on a dimple, see if it helps or not. And again, I think most people, you're looking at it, but you're thinking something else. I would say would be the general answer. What can I do to stop early extension causing my drive to go way right? We have so many early extension and rotation videos that I would just suggest watching those first, because the answer I'm going to give you in 30 seconds isn't going to be anything other than those. So we have an early extension masterclass. We have CogornoGolf.com where you can send me your swings. You can find a coach you can work with. But ultimately, you got to exaggerate the opposites. If you early extend, your head works back, hips work forward. You need to feel during your downswing, your head works a mile down and forward, a mile. Like there's a glass wall here, and you go way forward to that, and your hips go way back like that. So search my name in early extension. We did a video that's, I think, called PGA Tour Secrets. The thumbnail's me like bent over like this. And I talk about those two drills of depth of the hips and the head working forward. I would start with some of those. And you've got to find out what you're doing earlier to cause your early extension. It could be setup issues. It could be hips moving forward during the backswing. It could be steep shaft. It could be open club face. So you got to find out why it's happening if you haven't been able to fix it. Do you release the club head at the ball or try and maintain wrist angles? Definitely do not release it at the ball. Other than driver, you can throw it a little early, or if your speed's a little low because you need more loft, you want to feel like now again, not everyone's going to feel the same. Your arms and club are going to be released for most players about 45 degrees past impact. So about here. So not at the ball, not at the target. The only people that release it all the way at the target are people who turn a ton with a ton of side bend, like a Dustin Johnson. Most of us physically are not going to turn that much. So you're going to be about 45 degrees past the ball with the wrist angles. Error on later, right? Like good ball strikers have shaft length. And their right wrist is bent, left wrist is flat. So like, you know, we've had these debates all the time or conversations, throw, don't throw, whatever. Well, record yourself. And if you already don't have the handle forward, your butt shouldn't be throwing anything because you're already back here like this. You need to feel like your right wrist stays bent forever. Now, if you already have shaft lean, certainly you don't need to feel that as much, right? So you got to get shaft lean. So don't let anyone tell you like, hey, you shouldn't feel like you hold that forever. Well, no, if you throw it too early, you better do something different to get the shaft leaning forward. Let's see. What's a good drill to keep from rolling my hands open on the takeaway? I try to maintain one piece. I think I'm taking the club outside. Search my name in takeaway. There's a lot of good drills on this. I would feel your left palm stays up towards the sky for as long as possible during the backswing. Right palm down. Is there a rule you like to use to know how far to stand from the ball and how it varies per club? Yes, search my name, Brian, and how far to stand from the ball. We did a very thorough video on this with setup checkpoints and literally measuring the golf ball that I think should help. What's the best way to find leverage in a deep hip when your primary speed generator is early extension? What's the best way to find leverage in a deep hip when your primary speed generator is early extension? I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that, but I would say my answer is going to be get your right hip going deeper on the way back, keep it deeper starting down, and then let it turn through. The right hip works farther away from the ball, farther away from the ball, through. That would be the hip depth part. If that's your speed generator, then you need to keep your tempo down right in the beginning, gradual. And then you might learn that you get some speed from your arms and hands working from there. If you search my name in the Michael Maska videos we did, we talked about that a little bit more in depth. All right, 2 more minutes. Let's see how many we can go through here. Are there any differences between a pitching wedge swing and a 6-iron swing? In terms of what you feel, no. On paper, if we measured it, yes. Most of it changes just due to club and setup differences. But in terms of what you're feeling when you swing, you should be really feeling that with basically all the clubs. Meaning if you got to swing from the inside, you swing inside with all of them. Is it all in the hands, club face, in the final tweak for my swing? It is all in the hands. Club face is the final tweak for my swing. Yeah. Yeah, for you, Brett, right? You know, some people who will go home and do a hip rotation drill and pure it will say it's all in the hips, and then someone else will say, I straighten my left leg and I hit it good, and it's all in the leg. And so it really just matters what the motion is, and obviously we're all gonna have different feels. But you definitely got to learn how to use your hands. You know, people are afraid to use their hands. Eric, let's see. Bought a VC 300 launch monitor. I want to improve my distance with driver. What are the best drills to practically improve to a positive angle of attack? Best launch. So angle of attack, the biggest thing you could do is I would watch my head back, hips forward. The more your head's back, the more your hips forward, the more you should hit up on the ball. So if I wanted to hit a positive angle attack, certainly I'd have my feet wide. I'd have the ball a little bit forward, so left armpit. I'd have the ball teed high. Hands would be neutral. I'd start with enough tilt, let's say 10 degrees, put my hand on my right thigh, get my fingertips down to my kneecaps, head's back. Big turn, head stays back. Feel like my head stays back, head stays back, head stays back. If I wanted to hit up on it, even to the point where I have like a little bit of an angle in my body like this, and feel my arms and hands working up through the ball as I hit. So my leg belt buckles raising, arms and hands are up, legs extending, but head back is the big one. Big one. I to hit it. Launch angle is going to depend on too many other variables. I'm not going to give you a stock number on that. I would get a fitting look at it. So it depends on multiple other pieces, but that would be the piece with the hitting up on. Okay, we're at the hour. I'm going to do just 1 or 2 because Mary told me these mics. Seem to hit it thin with the driver, even with the tee height quite high. Any tips to hit driver higher on the face? No, I do not have any tips on that without seeing your swing. You could spray the face and see what's going on, but there's just too many variables. And a quick tip from me could hurt as much as help. I'd have to see that one. All right, last one. John, thanks for your lessons the other day. Took it to the range today, feeling the tailbone moving toward the target during back. Yeah, thanks, John. Awesome. Yeah, tailbone more towards the target for a lot of people is going to help with the contact. So sorry I went a little bit slower. There's a lot of questions on here I didn't get to. My apologies. But we will be back next Monday. I'll try and go faster. But, you know, we're getting to the point with some of these guys where I don't get all the questions. Like there's a lot of questions in here I didn't get to. So if you can get on here at 5 o'clock, like the sooner you can get here earlier and post your questions earlier, I'll be able to get to them sooner. Or as always, you can join CogornoGolf.com. You post your questions in the Facebook group. Honestly, half my time in the Facebook group, I'd say, is answering questions. Not even responding to swings, just answering questions. So you can always join the Facebook group. It's only $49 a month. You can quit whenever you want. What else do we have going on? Hopefully you guys checked out the chipping and putting masterclass videos we went out. We just did some practice videos today. Like I said, our practice masterclass comes out, I think, on the 30th, which will be a detailed, like all 3 of those we designed to make these conversations easier, where I could give you, like, when you get a workout plan or a nutrition plan, like we all need that, just very easy. Our putting plan is 25 minutes. It's 5 stations, 5 minutes per station. It's very easy to follow, and it's very effective for everyone. We made it bulletproof. Same thing with the chipping, 25-minute routine, 5 stations, 5 minutes, rules to follow so you can make it harder, like lifting more weight over time. Same thing with the wedge routine. So I hope you guys do that. Make sure when you're practicing, you putt first, chip second, hit balls third. You do the grids all the time. You don't just do swing mechanics. Just doing swing mechanics is a direct route to frustration. It's not the way to go. You have to do swing mechanics, and you got to do the skill stuff. You got to do the short game stuff. There's solutions to transferring this that don't reside in moving your elbow a different way, right? We got to do the skill stuff. So, all right, that's all for now. Thank you guys for coming. Apologize if I missed your question, and I'll see you guys all next week.